Revenge films.
My name is Jennifer. I have one older sister named Karen, and ever since we were little kids, that older sister was beautiful. On the other hand, ever since I was a little kid, people called me ugly, and that was always an insecurity that I had growing up. As for my mother, perhaps because my sister was so cute and always being complimented by those around us, she doted on my sister. And on the other hand, she said that she was embarrassed of me and that she didn't want to be seen walking around with me, and I was always neglected. This was painful as a child. However, my father always looked after me and took care of me. He always scolded my mother that she shouldn't just be doting on and loving my sister, and that as a mother, she shouldn't be treating her two daughters so differently. Unfortunately, after my father passed away, the treatment towards me from both my sister and my mother only continued to become more awful. And that's why I tried to have as much distance from the two of them as possible as I went on living my life. But recently, it was announced that my sister was going to be getting married. I had already moved out of home to a place far away from my hometown, and I didn't keep in touch with the two of them either. I was living my life normally, and there was no reason why I should even know about that. But as for how I found out, was because somebody that knew me and my sister had recently reached out to me, and they were asking me about my sister's upcoming marriage. That was how I heard. Even though I was shocked, in that moment I tried to play it off. Even though on a daily basis they had been treating me so horribly, they were my family after all. I thought that I should at least attend the wedding, so I contacted my sister that evening. However, I was met with unbelievable words in response. Huh? Why are you calling me? Obviously, there's no way I would be able to invite an ugly pig like you to the wedding. That's why I didn't bother sending you an invitation. Why are you coming crawling to me and contacting me? What? Because we're family. When my sister said that to me, I was shocked and I was hurt. But then my sister said words to me that were even more painful to hear. But actually, now that I have you here, I'm gonna tell you that you better not come to the wedding. Oh, actually, I told my husband that you died, and everybody thinks you're dead. Huh? Everybody thinks I'm dead? That wouldn't even be funny if it was a joke, but my sister continued on like it was normal. Because there are people who know that I had a little sister, and if you didn't come to the wedding, then it would be weird. That's why it was easier to just tell everybody that you died. And, I mean, first of all, if people found out that I was related to somebody as ugly as you, it would embarrass me. As I was listening to my sister say these words to me, it was so painful that I couldn't handle how tight my chest was feeling. But my sister didn't pay any attention to how her words might affect me, and after she said what she needed to say to me, she said that she was going to hang up the phone, and she cut the phone. I was confused and hurt and lost. Without thinking, I picked up the phone again and I called my mother. But then, even for my mother, more unbelievable words came flying towards me. What are you saying? Oh, that's a given. Isn't it obvious? Are you trying to destroy your own sister's wedding? It's not like we're telling you to die, we're just telling you to be quiet and stay at home. So just stay there and don't come. When I heard my mother's words, I was at a complete loss. I felt like I was outside of my own body. No matter how many horrible things they had said to me until now, deep down inside, somewhere I had hoped that they still thought of me as part of the family. And I felt so pathetic that I had been misunderstanding this my entire life, and I was devastated. In reality, my sister didn't think of me as family at all, and even for my mother, as long as my sister's life was fine, she didn't care what happened to me at all. When I thought about this, the tears were streaming down my face. That's why I decided that for the rest of my life, I was going to avoid having anything to do with my mother or my sister. But then, about 3 days later, I received a message from my sister, and what she said to me was beyond selfish. Hey, I know I told you not to come to the wedding, and I don't want you to come, but the congratulatory money is a different thing. You're working, so you better put at least $1,000 into an envelope for me. I mean, first of all, up until now, you had such a beautiful sister like me, and you benefited from that your whole life, so it's a given that you should show your appreciation to me. That was what the message read, and I couldn't help to think what on earth my life was. If my father was still here, I wonder what he would have thought of my sister and my mother. I was sure that he wouldn't forgive them, and he wouldn't let them do this to me. But unfortunately, my father was no longer here. And even for myself, after everything that they were saying to me, I had no intention of continuing to treat them like they were my family. That's why I decided to ignore my sister's message, and I was just going to continue living my life for myself. And then it was the day of her wedding. I wasn't invited. If anything, I was told not to come, so I was at work as usual, going about my day. But suddenly I received a phone call from my sister. Because I hadn't sent any celebratory money, I thought that she was probably going to say something even more awful towards me, so I didn't think there was any need for me to answer the phone. I was ignoring it, but because she kept calling over and over again, I was no longer able to focus on my work, and I ended up answering the phone. But then my sister sounded desperate as she started begging me to come to the venue immediately. She was panicking, but I had no idea what on earth was going on. When I told her that she was the one that told me in the first place not to come, my sister started explaining the situation over there to me. Actually, because my sister was objectively beautiful, she was on social media and had become somewhat of an influencer. That's why, at the wedding, there were a number of famous influencers that had been invited and were in attendance. Among those influencers, there was one that was the most famous and had the most influence, and she went up to my sister at the wedding and said, "I just saw your little sister the other day and we had lunch together. Why isn't she here at the wedding?" When my sister heard those words, apparently she froze on the spot. I asked my sister who she was talking about, and I immediately remembered who she was. About 6 months ago, I was introduced to her through a mutual friend and we got lunch together. But I was also shocked. That's such a coincidence to happen. There were other influencers standing nearby, and when they overheard this conversation, they also came closer to ask more questions. "Wait, did you just say little sister? But, Karen, you told us that your little sister passed away, right? That's what I heard, but could it be that you have 2 little sisters or something? Well, in that case, why isn't the other one here?" People were asking questions, and the situation started to turn into chaos. When the mother found out about the conversation, she also started to panic, and she demanded my sister contact me, and that's why my sister had called me in such a panic. In an effort to try to calm down the situation, she tried to come up with the excuse that that was just a little joke, that I had died, and she said she was going to call her little sister there immediately. And then she told them that I was in the dressing room and was demanding that I get there immediately. I wonder what she was thinking when I had moved out of town already. But first of all, after saying such horrible things and hurting me so much, once they were in trouble, they wanted me to come and help them. I was furious at how selfish these people could be. That's why, of course, my answer was no. After my own family denied my own existence, there was no way I was going to help them. Even I wasn't that stupid. Nope, I'm not going, because you said that I'm dead, right? When I said that, my sister started crying. "I'm going to apologize about that. But look, if you don't come to my wedding, my entire wedding is going to be ruined. That's why you need to come here right now." She was begging me, but I simply said that I'm not going, and I hung up the phone on her. Right before I hung up the phone, I could hear my sister going into a panic tantrum on the other end of the phone. But that was none of my business anymore. I truly did not care. After that, the situation made a turn that was exactly as I had predicted. Because I wasn't going to show up, everybody found out that my sister had tried to make it so that I had died, and that's why I wasn't in attendance, and everybody was shocked. The family of the groom was furious. What on earth was going on? And they also cornered my mother about it, and then the groom said to my sister,
"It's unbelievable that you would try to kill off your own sister, and then you would lie about something like that. I didn't know that that's the kind of person that you are. There's no way I can marry you, so we're going to be canceling this wedding, and you're going to be taking full responsibility for that."
When he said that to her, my sister was sobbing on the spot. Apparently she was grabbing onto the groom and apologizing over and over again, but he simply looked down at her at his feet and said,
"If you're going to apologize, it shouldn't be to me. It should be to your sister."
I heard from one of my friends later that that's what he said to her. On top of that, apparently there were all kinds of influencers that were attending the wedding, but they were so shocked by how horrible my sister was, and all of these people cut off their relationships with my sister. As the cherry on top, this incident was exposed on the internet, and my sister was bashed by all kinds of people. She completely lost her standing as an influencer as well. In the end, my sister lost everything, and she was no longer able to go out into the public either. Apparently, she became depressed and locked herself up at home, but then my mother came to me to try to ask for help.
Please, I'm begging you, please get along with your sister again. If we can show everybody that you two are getting along, then everybody's going to know that it was all just a misunderstanding.
She said that to me, but I replied, "What do you mean, a misunderstanding? It's exactly as it was." Then I continued, "Sorry, but I plan on cutting off all ties with the two of you, so I definitely have no intention of doing that." When I said that, my mom tried to threaten me, saying that I was throwing away my own family, but I firmly believe that they were the ones that threw me away first. That's why I simply left my mom and I hung up the phone on her. After that, I heard a rumor through the grapevine that my sister's ex-fiance sued her for a crazy amount for the cancellation of the wedding and engagement. It turns out that because my sister thought she was famous as an influencer, she thought it was a given that the wedding should be extremely fancy. She had prepared multiple outfits and had spent an enormous amount of money on the wedding. And yet, because this happened, the wedding cancellation and the settlement fee only expanded. Since my mom is also obsessed with my sister, I'm sure she's going to try to help her by her side, and the two of them are going to have to spend the rest of their lives paying all of that back. But now that I've cut off all ties with them, it was none of my business, and I didn't care. From what I heard, after that, they had to sell the family house that they had inherited from my father, and they were doing whatever they could to gather the money, but none of it was enough. Truly, the only thing I can say is, take that.
How was today's video? If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, like, and leave a comment. Stay tuned for more.